I literally just told you I _ with you. How can you say this? What did I do to these? Plaqueboymax said one thing about NBA YoungBoy's music, and all hell broke loose. Threats, diss tracks, phone calls from YoungBoy's whole camp. But while everybody was focused on the beef, nobody was paying attention to what was quietly surfacing about YoungBoy in Paris. What got exposed changes everything. The spark that lit the fuse. All right, so before we even get into what Plaqueboymax allegedly put on, blast about NBA YoungBoy, we got to run it all the way back and understand how these two ended up going at each other's necks in the first place. Because a full rundown on this situation is absolutely crazy. And nobody out here is really breaking down the real timeline of events that led to one of the most jaw-dropping moments in streaming history. And trust me when I tell you, once you see how this whole thing unfolded from start to finish, you're going to understand why the internet completely lost its mind over this beef. This whole thing kicked off in February 2026 when Plaqueboymax, one of the biggest streamers on Twitch with over 500,000 followers and a rep for keeping 100 on every hip-hop take he drops, decided to react to NBA YoungBoy's joint head tap off the Massa album. Now, peep this real quick because the context here is mad important. Max has been one of the most vocal YoungBoy writers in the entire streaming game for a long time now. He spins that man's records on the regular. He gasses him up on stream constantly. He'd been locked in with YoungBoy's catalog since he was in middle school by his own word. This ain't some dude who popped up out of nowhere hating. This is a genuine fan who built part of his whole platform on supporting YoungBoy's music. But on this particular day, Max ran the track and it just wasn't hitting for him. Simple as that. I don't like this. I don't this. I'm going to give it a buck. And that was the whole lick. That was the entire violation right there. Max said he wasn't rocking with one song. Not the whole tape, not YoungBoy as an artist, not his legacy, not his run. Just one single cut off the project that didn't land with him personally. He even made sure to put respect on YoungBoy's name and acknowledged that bro had been on an absolute tear lately with his recent drops. I'm going to be honest. Bro, shout out YB. I'm not finishing this album. This is not for me. Max kept it real and said he's just the type of dude who ain't going to force himself to sit through something that ain't for him, and that not every project is going to land with every listener. That's just how the game works. And there ain't nothing wrong with that. Be a great artist, but the specific project I can't finish. I'm the type of if I don't like some, I'm not going to finish it. Now, any regular person with common sense would hear that and think, okay, bro gave a respectful take and kept it pushing. No harm, no foul. But NBA YoungBoy ain't wired like regular folks. And we all know that by now. Within hours of that clip making its rounds across TikTok and every IG fan page you can think of, YoungBoy hopped on X, formerly known as Twitter, and went absolutely nuclear on Plaqueboymax. He called Max everything but a child of God, said he was moving like a female, and told him straight up, don't even fix your fingers to type a response. The tweet was on demon time. It was mad personal, and it caught the whole internet lacking, because all Max did was say a song wasn't for him. That's literally it. Max caught wind of YoungBoy's response live on stream, and the boy was genuinely bamboozled. He could not for the life of him figure out why dropping a simple music opinion would have a whole rapper coming at his neck this tough over something so minor. I literally just told you I _ with you. How can you say this? What did I do to? The confusion in bro's voice was 1000% genuine, and you could hear it clear as day. Here's a streamer who'd been showing love to YoungBoy for years on end without fail, who puts his joint in rotation every single stream, who promotes his drops to an audience of tens of thousands deep on the daily, and his thank you for one honest critique was getting flamed in front of the entire internet by the very artist he been supporting. Thing about how backwards that is for a second. I said, I'm not gonna lie, bro, I don't like the song, but why be I too heavy, bro? I just don't like this song. If that's girl me giving my opinion, I don't understand, bro. Max made it crystal clear that he wasn't about to fold on his opinion like a lawn-on chair, but he also wasn't trying to pour more gas on this thing and turn it into something bigger than it ever needed to be in the first place. I genuinely don't understand. This don't make no sense. Then the phone started going crazy, like a switchboard on Black Friday. YoungBoy's stepdad Montana had already been popping off in the comments online, doing the most, and Max showed receipts on stream proving he had actually slid into Montana's DMs a day before trying to dead the whole situation before it got out of hand. Max told Montana he rocks with a whole camp heavy. It's nothing but love on his end, and he's just a streamer who keeps it a buck with his takes because that's his job. Montana left that message on read, like it was a text from an ex he was trying to ghost. I said, "Yo, gang, I with y'all heavy and why be heavy, bro? It's all love. I stream." So I give my opinion. It's none more than that. Brody. All love and blessings. That peace offering got straight up aired out and left in the digital dust, and the situation kept snowballing harder and harder by the hour. Then DJ Academics pulled up the stream on a phone call, trying to play the middleman and mediator, and what he laid down for Max gave everybody a peek behind the curtain at how YoungBoy's whole operation really moves when somebody steps out of line even slightly. Yo, I know I be and like broies that even know me where it's like bro I've sat there in his house with him. AK broke it down real plain and said he's literally been posted up in YoungBoy's crib, heard songs play that YoungBoy was hyped about, gave no reaction whatsoever to music, and YoungBoy ain't tripped about it one single bit, where I know he's played a song and he's like, "Yo, I think I'm gonna like," and I had no reaction, and he didn't have a problem. No smoke, no drama, nothing. So, according to Axe, YoungBoy don't normally get in his bag and start beefing with folks just because they ain't vibing with a track, which meant something way deeper was cooking behind the scenes that the public wasn't seeing. Axe suggested that maybe YoungBoy felt Max was being low-key slick with a criticism, that maybe the clips floating around on TikTok had bro looking like a certified hater. Even though he was anything but that. Most rappers, a lot of times, they're not tuning into the Twitch stream, so they're going to catch it on. AKA dropped a gem right there that explained the whole dynamic in a way that made everything click. Rappers ain't sitting through no 2-hour Twitch VODs watching the full context of a stream. They catching 10-second clips on TikTok where the algorithm only pushes the negative takes because that's what gets the most engagement and the most eyes. So, YoungBoy probably never peeped the countless times Max was gassing his music and putting him on a pedestal. He only saw the one clip where Max said head tap, wasn't it? It's always the clips that you're not ever giving them props. It seems like you're the biggest hater. And that right there is how the entire beef jumped off over literally nothing substantial. A 10-second clip taken out of context from a 2-hour stream. But the beef itself was just a pre-game warm-up. Because while all of this was popping off on the internet, a completely different storm was brewing around both Max and YoungBoy that was about to collide in the wildest way humanly possible. The rumors that changed everything. Now, this is where the whole story takes a sharp detour into left field that had absolutely nobody on their bingo card. Not the fans, not the commentators, not Max, probably not even YoungBoy himself. While the smoke between Plaqueboymax and NBA YoungBoy was the hottest topic on every hip-hop page across the internet, both of these dudes were simultaneously catching heat over some real personal rumors about their private lives that had been bubbling up for months behind the scenes. We got to start with Max first because the situation popped off earlier, and it basically laid the entire foundation for everything that went down after. Back in July 2025, fans did some deep internet digging and unearthed what looked like an old profile belonging to Max on a men-only dating platform supposedly made when he was around 19 years old. Screenshots went absolutely everywhere. At the speed of like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, every single clip page and gossip account you could think of had it posted up with the most clickbait captions imaginable. The headlines were ruthless and the comment sections were straight up foul with no mercy. Now, most dudes in Max's shoes would have denied everything 6 ways to Sunday, lawyered up with the most expensive crisis PR team money can buy, and dropped some carefully crafted statement through a spokesperson that says a whole lot of nothing. Max did none of that. Not even close. Bro went live on stream and addressed the whole situation heating with absolutely no filter and no safety net. He straight up owned it and took full accountability for the situation, saying it was something from his past that he ain't proud of and he's grown since then as a person. Yes, and he said it was something that I did in the past. It was a mistake. So on some sketch, I almost just lost my mind. Max also put everybody on game about how these clip pages were chopping up his words and completely flipping the whole narrative on its head to farm click. They were taking different pieces from different streams recorded on different days and stitching them together to make it look like he was confessing to something he absolutely was not confessing to. On the Club Ambition podcast, he ran the whole play-by-play on how these pages finesse engagement by manufacturing fake storylines out of heavily edited footage that strips away all the context. There was a clip page that took the clip of me telling y'all that gay be in my DMs harassing y'all. Done with that, because I'm not gay. Took that clip and made some more gay. So, Max was already dealing with all that noise and drama hanging over his head like a dark cloud when the YoungBoy beef popped off and made everything 10 times more complicated. But here's the twist that most folks completely slept on and didn't even peep coming. NBA YoungBoy had his own set of whispers following him around like a shadow, and they were about to blow up in a way that shook the whole internet to its core. On March 5th, 2026, right smack in the middle of Paris Fashion Week, NBA YoungBoy pulled up to the Rick Owens Fall-Winter 2026 show and had everybody doing a double take and rubbing their eyes. He came through with his wife, Jazzin, both of them draped head to toe in matching all-black Rick Owens fits, looking like they stepped out of a dystopian fashion magazine. YoungBoy was flicked up in a sleeveless spiked leather vest that had his tatted-up arms and back fully on display for the world to see, rocking heavy chains and some gnarly boots that look like they cost more than most people's rent. For Rick Owens as a brand, that's completely par for course. The whole label's identity is built around pushing boundaries and messing with what society expects men to wear. But the internet was absolutely not about to let that slide without running their mouths. Within hours of photos and videos hitting everybody's timeline, a viral post on X from the account Executive X Media claimed that NBA YoungBoy had come out at the Rick Owens show and was repping for the rainbow community. That joint racked up millions of views damn near overnight and had everybody and their Annie chiming in. Parody accounts ran with it like a relay baton. The comments were going absolutely berserk from every angle, and suddenly the whole internet was debating NBA YoungBoy's personal preferences based entirely on a fit he rocked to a fashion show. That's it, an outfit. Now, the straight-up fact of the matter are that YoungBoy ain't say a single solitary word about his personal life at that event. He pulled up with his wife right by his side. He chopped it up with some fans outside the venue. He watched the runway show. He dipped out in a luxury whip. That was the whole play from beginning to end. Multiple outlets, including Complex, confirmed Bro was just there as a guest enjoying fashion. No announcements, no statements, no speeches, none of that whatsoever. But in the age of viral cap, where everybody is racing to post first and fact-check never, the truth don't move nowhere near as fast as a lie. And by the time the truth finally catches up, the damage is already done. The timing on all of this couldn't have been worse for YoungBoy if somebody had planned it on a calendar. Here he was, fresh off a public beef where he went at a streamer's whole existence for giving a mid-end music opinion. And now the entire internet was questioning his manhood because of a designer outfit he wore to a high-end fashion event. The irony was so thick you could spread it on toast and still have leftovers. YoungBoy had called Max Saw, called him a female, told him to sit down and shut up. And now millions of people were using his own drip to throw those exact same words back in his grill without an ounce of hesitation. And this is exactly where Plaqueboymax slid back into the picture in a way that completely flipped the script on the entire dynamic of this situation. Because while Max never directly said anything wild about YoungBoy's personal business on stream or anywhere else, the timing of his own situation created a head-on collision that the internet ran with at 100 miles per hour in every direction. Max had been an open book about his past and took accountability publicly. YoungBoy was now getting grilled about his present by millions of strangers on the internet, and the two of them were already deep into a public beef. That was all to fuel the content vultures and clip page operators needed to stitch everything together into one massive narrative. Whether that narrative was rooted in reality or was straight capped from top to bottom. The beef had already been turned way up by early March when all of this was converging. On March 2nd, 2026, YoungBoy hopped on a live and played an unreleased joint that appeared to take direct shots at both Max and Kaisnat. with bars talking about real consequences for real people in real life. The internet took that as YoungBoy being way more pressed about the criticism than any confident artist with nothing to hide should be over one streamer's take on one song. And when a fashion show flicks dropped just 3 days later, folks started connecting dots that may or may not have actually been there to connect in the first place. Commentary channels went absolutely stupid with takes on the situation, and everybody had something to say. One prominent voice broke the whole thing down and told Max exactly why streamers need to stop bowing at the feet of rappers over situations just like this one. Yo, Max, let me give you some advice. Bro, Max, this is elementary school advice, right? And this applies to life in general right now. YoungBoy is looking at you streamers as if you guys are nerds and dweebs. These rappers feel like they could bully y'all. The message was loud and clear for anybody willing to hear it. YoungBoy felt comfortable pressing Max and treating him like a lick because the streaming world had been playing the back for rappers since the very beginning. And the whole cultural conversation was shifting away from the beef itself and into way deeper waters about power plays, insecurity, masculinity, and what folks really be hiding behind all that aggression when they come this hostile over a take that wasn't even all that harsh to begin with, the fallout and the truth. Now, we pull up to the part of this story that everybody and their mama been waiting on since the jump, because the fallout from all of this was on a whole different level from anything the streaming game or hip-hop world had seen in a very long time. And the way things played out in the aftermath is what really revealed the truth about this entire situation. After the Rick Owens fashion show photos went viral, and the bogus coming out narrative took off across every single platform known to man, the whole conversation around NBA YoungBoy did a complete 180 that even his most loyal supporters couldn't ignore. Folks who have been writing for YoungBoy's aggressive response to Max and defend his honor in every comment section suddenly started asking some real uncomfortable questions that nobody wanted to touch before. If YoungBoy was that solid in who he is as a man, why did a simple song review from a streamer have him tripping this hard and going this crazy? Why was his response so over the top and extra for what it was? And why was his whole camp moving like they desperately needed to silence one streamer's opinion by any means necessary, as if their whole reputation depended on it? The commentary channel that had been locked in on this beef from the very first day broke down the hypocrisy in a way that had the comment sections going absolutely wild with agreement. The industry act like they stopped making guns when NBA YoungBoy got one. The way they give this dude a pass, the way they're so submissive to him, to me, is disgusting, bro. And that observation cut straight to the meat of what was really going down. Beneath all the noise and the tweets and the threats, YoungBoy had built an entire ecosystem around himself where nobody was allowed to say anything even remotely critical about his work without catching immediate smoke and consequences for it. That's not confidence. That's something else entirely. YoungBoy can diss yo. YoungBoy can diss your mama, can diss you, can diss everybody in your family, can diss your heritage, and they can say, "What did I do?" YoungBoy. Meanwhile, Max was supposed to get on his knees and apologize profusely for saying he wasn't rocking with one joint off a whole album, just one song. The double standard was screaming at the top of its lungs at this point, and it only got louder and more obvious once the fashion show situation got thrown into mix and added a whole new layer to the conversation. Because now folks weren't just checking YoungBoy for his behavior towards streamers. They were checking his whole gangster persona from top to bottom and asking if all that SmokeX screen was really hiding something deeper than anybody realized. The fan reactions across social media were split right down the middle, like a barbershop debate on a Saturday afternoon. YoungBoy's ride or die 4KT fan base called cap on every single rumor without exception and kept the pressure cranked all the way up on Max. But a growing wave of people who weren't blinded by fandom were pointing out that YoungBoy's extreme blow-up over a mild critique stacked right on top of the fashion show optics was painting a picture of somebody who's deeply shook about how the public perceives him. Whether the rumors about his personal life had any legs or were straight fiction spun up by the internet was almost beside the point at this stage of the game. The narrative had already taken on a life of its own, and it was running full speed with no brakes and no steering wheel. And Max handled the entire situation with a level of composure and grace under pressure that had a lot of people who originally doubted him giving him his well-deserved flowers. He refused to fold on his opinion, no matter how much heat came his way. He refused to turn up the temperature and go on the attack when it would have been easy to do so. And he refused to duck the smoke when it came to answering tough questions about his own past, because he'd already been through that fire and come out the other side. Chad, I'm not gonna lie, gang. I don't know. Y'all think it's fake. Y'all think it's fake. Y'all think it's real? Even when the whole internet was in his ear from every direction, telling him to either tuck his tail and submit or go on the full offensive and crash out, Max stayed planted right in the middle ground, where most people don't have the discipline to stand. He gave YoungBoy his props as a talented artist and acknowledged the man's catalog. He stood 10 toes on his right to have an opinion as somebody who makes a living reacting to music, and he kept the stream rolling like it was just another regular Tuesday on the schedule. I'm not going to apologize. I didn't do nothing wrong. But it's like, bro, and even after saying that, Max still made it clear he wasn't carrying any grudge or bad blood toward YoungBoy as a person or as an artist. He kept it a 100 and said he's still going to rock with him regardless of how this whole thing played out. Because at the end of the day, it was never personal on his end. It was always just about giving an honest take on a song that didn't land for him. The discourse that came out of this whole saga put a bright spotlight on something that had been festering underneath the surface of hip-hop culture for a long, long time, and nobody wanted to address it openly. The relationship between streamers and rappers was fundamentally busted and broken beyond repair. Rappers treated streamers like free promo machines and convenient marketing tools when the reviews were positive and the clips were flattering. But the second a streamer expressed anything less than full-on worship and undying loyalty, they became public enemy number one overnight and targets for harassment. Yo, what makes it even worse is we know Plaqueboymax is not in it wrong. But Plaqueboymax reacted to the song. It's in his right. He can give his opinion on songs if he wants to. And that's the part that really had people heated, because the facts were right there in plain sight for everybody to see. Max didn't violate. Max didn't disrespect nobody. Max didn't call YoungBoy out his name or go on some rant trashing his career. He literally just said one song wasn't for him and kept it moving. But somehow that was enough to have an entire rapper in his camp coming at his neck, like he committed the ultimate betrayal. The advice being thrown at Max from every corner of the internet during this whole ordeal was mad telling about where the culture currently stands. AK wanted to play peacemaker and squash the whole thing behind closed doors where the cameras couldn't see. Some callers basically told Max to tuck it in and take the L because the smoke wasn't worth it. Like the one dude y'all just heard. He called him talking about, bro, apologize, bro. You don't want that smoke, bro. But other voices came through with a completely different energy and a completely different perspective, telling Max that bending the knee to somebody who disrespected him over literally nothing would set a garbage precedent for every single streamer and content creator who comes after him in this space. Boy, I ain't saying like, hey, bro, pull out. I got to know I'm saying, hey, bro, I don't care what you think I did. I didn't do nothing wrong to you. I'm not going for no disrespect. I'ma do what I want to do on my stream. And that advice about standing on your square and not backing down tied directly into the bigger picture of this whole messy situation. Because the real exposure in this entire saga was never about what anybody does behind closed doors when the cameras are off. The real exposure was how the hip-hop industry moves in the shadows and how these power dynamics actually work when you pull back the curtain. It exposed how rappers use fear and intimidation as tools to control the narrative and keep everybody who depends on them in check. It exposed how streamers been conditioned and trained to put access and clout over keeping it real and honest with their audience. And it exposed how the internet can cook up a whole entire scandal out of thin air, from a fashion show appearance, a dating app screenshot from years back, and a beef that started because one person said a song wasn't for them. That's literally all the ingredients it took. Multiple outlets confirmed that the Rick Owens coming out post was 100% completely fabricated from top to bottom. YoungBoy pulled up with his wife on his arm. He wore designer drip at a designer event surrounded by other people wearing the exact same type of fits. That was the whole entire story, and nothing more. But the damage was already done, and there was no taking it back. Because in the court of public opinion, context don't mean a single thing once a narrative catches fire and goes viral across every platform at the same time. As for Max, bro came out of this whole situation with significantly more respect attached to his name than he went in with. And that's just facts. His willingness to keep 100 about his past while simultaneously refusing to be punked and bullied by one of the biggest rappers breathing in the game right now showed a level of backbone and self-respect that most folks in his lane simply do not possess and probably never will. He didn't run from the conversation when it got uncomfortable. He didn't dodge the tough questions when they got personal. He just kept being himself authentically and let the chips fall wherever they were going to fall. In my opinion, like it is what it is. This is what I do, bro. This is how I make my money. This is what I do. But I got respect for y'all boys. The beef eventually simmered down without no formal squashing or public handshake, or anything close to a resolution that both sides agreed to. YoungBoy went right back to flooding the streets with new music at his usual nonstop pace like nothing ever happened. Max went right back to streaming and doing his thing and building his platform bigger than before. And the internet packed up its bags and moved on to the next piece of drama and the next controversy like it always does without fail every single time. But for the folks who were really tuned in and paying close attention to how everything unfolded from beginning to end, this whole ordeal left behind some real heavy lessons about truth versus perception, about the power of context, and about the dangerous game you play when you let 10-second TikTok clips and algorithm-boosted fake posts write your whole story for you instead of speaking for yourself. And that might honestly be the most real and telling part of this whole entire story right there. That's childish. I'm not going to go back on what I said because I meant it. But at the end of the day, I said it's the love. After everything YoungBoy put him through over the course of weeks, after the threats that had real weight behind them, after name-calling that was designed to humiliate him publicly, after the diss tracks aimed directly at his head, after all the smoke and all the drama and all the chaos, Max still chose to take the high road and keep it respectful when most people in his position would have gone scorched earth. Whether you think that makes him a stand-up dude with real character or a pushover who should have stood up harder depends entirely on which side of this beef you've been riding with from the start. But one thing is for certain and two things are for sure. The internet will never ever forget how this whole thing played out in real time. And the questions that got raised during this saga about truth, masculinity, and what people are really hiding behind all that aggression ain't going nowhere anytime soon. Believe that. Well, that's it for this video. But don't go anywhere because we've got plenty more heat for you.